Good morning, sports fans. You're listening to 96.9 FM WHYR LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio.
This is Eric Hatfield along with Coach Perry Daniels, and we are here to bring you the latest, the greatest, the best, and the most entertaining in high school, college, and professional sports. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports. And it is a fresh and clean Saturday morning, much like the weather's becoming all of a sudden, Perry.
Man, isn't the weather just awesome out there?
Man, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Spring is in the air, baby. Spring is in the air.
This bright orange thing came out, man, that we haven't seen in a while.
I know. I was like, hey, what's happening? Dapped it off like a long-lost cousin.
Right.
I'm Eric Hatfield.
And I'm Coach Perry Daniels.
And you're listening to the Louisiana All American Sports Radio Show. We've got a fantastic program for you this morning. A lot of action in the world of high school basketball. Perry, take her away.
Man, high school basketball is about to ramp up into its third season, the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Yeah, it's that time of year, man. District play ended last night, and next week we will start the playoffs.
Are you kidding me?
No, man. Broadmoor upset Zachary last night, 65-53. Neither one of those teams are headed to the playoffs.
No.
Bruley, Glen Oaks, I don't think either one of those teams are going to make it, but Bruley beat Glen Oaks 57-54.
Perry, what's going on with Glen Oaks? The Louisiana All American Sports.com game of the week earlier was Port Allen at Glen Oaks. Glen Oaks has always been a monster in my mind. They've been diminutive this year. I notice their players are a lot smaller than the past. Do you know the scoop on them?
Well, Coach Jeff Jones is no longer on the Glen Oaks staff.
And we know that's going to hurt.
And, Coach Jeff Jones, a very popular coach around town with a certain segment of the population. And he got a lot of kids to go to Glen Oaks. And now that he has his own program over at Madison Prep, you're starting to see those kids that would traditionally go to Glen Oaks go to Madison Prep, i.e. Jarrell Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just down. Coach Adger, the future Louisiana Hall of Fame Coach Adger, doesn't believe in getting out and marketing his program quite as much. Doesn't quite have to, going to 5 top 28 tournaments in 10 years. He's the premier program in the city.
Right.
Even though they're not the latest, they are still the most heralded program in recent years in the Baton Rouge area. So Coach Adger just doesn't feel like he has to get out and do those type of things, which by the LHSAA regulation, he shouldn't have to do that.
Sure. Right. Well, right. Wink, wink.
So, but that is the culture of basketball in the Baton Rouge area. You have to be out at middle school basketball games, letting them know about your high school program.
Absolutely.
So, Central High beat Live Oak 78-59. Denham Springs not upset, but they beat Walker 50-41. Dutchtown beat Santamar 59-49. East Ascension grabs a share of the District 5-5A title by defeating Catholic High 49-41 last night, and that makes East Ascension finish the district play with 3 losses, tied with the McKinley High Panthers, who also have 3 losses in District 5-5A, and that gives McKinley a share of their first district title since 1996, which is unbelievable. As often as they have gone to the playoffs since 96, they have not won a district title since 1996. McKinley upset Woodlawn, or beat Woodlawn last night, 42-41, to gain a share of that district title.
That's a tough team to get a season sweep, too, because Woodlawn has some big boys. But I tell you, I didn't even see the game, but I guarantee if it's anything like the game at McKinley, they took that perimeter, locked it down, and Woodlawn's strength is not three-point shooting.
And
it's
once again, we're seeing a McKinley High score where the opponent is scoring in the 40s.
Right.
So that defense is really playing well. Coach Dotson has that defense playing fantastic.
Absolutely.
Northside defeated St. Thomas More 67-59. Southern Lab defeated Varnado 59-52. U High beat Baker 69-58 to gain a share of the title of 7-3A, which is going to be divided 3 different ways.
That's crazy.
You've got U-High, Port Allen, who wrapped up their share of the 7-3A district title last week, and West Feliciana defeated Parkview Baptist last night, 50-48, which gives them also a share of the 7-3A district title.
We have an interview from Port Allen coach Brandon Ricard earlier this week. It was immediately following their victory over Glen Oaks. He had some interesting things to say about that what I always call the snarl mess, the 3-way tie at the top of District 7-3A, and here we go. And now I'm here with Coach Ricard. Coach, you guys, Coach is wearing the fresh suit with the white, fresh shirt with the white collar tonight. That's not the normal jumpsuit. You know it was a special night. You guys, by my count, clinched at least a share of the 7-3A title. Is that correct?
That's what it sounds like. I mean, we are finished with our district, and right now we are 8-3 in district, and so we have a couple other teams got to play on Friday. Right now we have a 4-way tie for first. I heard U-High lost by 1, so we have Port Allen, U-High, West Feliciana, and Parkview all tied for first with 3 losses in district. You have West Feliciana and Parkview have to play on Friday. Parkview got to go to West Feliciana. So if U-High win Friday and if West Louisiana win Friday, then it'll be a 3-way tie. Or if Parkview win, it'll be a 3-way tie possibly. So it's crazy.
It's a snarl mess in the district. So in the playoffs, do you expect to be playing in this building in the first round?
Yes, I expect us to be somewhere in the top 6. I mean, we were number 2 in the state, and we dropped 2 very good, tough games last week. And power rankings came out today, and we're number 5. I expect us to either stay number 5 or drop no lower than number 6 or possibly move up to number 4. I mean, I think we have the toughest division in the state, so it just shows on any given night anybody can beat anybody. So that was Coach Brandon Ricard of the 3-way tied 3 ways for first place, sort of co-champions of District 7-3A, Port Allen Pelicans. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, because I'm wondering in 7-3A, are they going to just go with the coin toss to decide? All of those teams are solidly in the playoffs.
Right.
Or are they just going to toss the coin to see who gets the additional points for the district championship? Or are they going to have a playoff and play games to determine before the official playoffs kick in? They could play either Monday or Tuesday night.
Coach was saying something in that interview about the tiebreak. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I got to say it was Chinese to me when he was explaining.
They kind of leave it up to the district coaches to decide. So, like today, you have Terra High and St. Michael playing a game over at Bel Air High to determine who is the second place winner of District 6-4A.
Right.
So, but we've got a traditional powerhouse on the phone, the head coach of the Christian Life Crusaders, who there is no controversy about who's the best team in their district in the 1A classification. It is the Christian Life Crusaders. They are the outright district champs. Good morning, Coach. How are you? Coach?
Coach, how you doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for calling us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Coach, you hung around me enough to know I like to talk a lot, so I'm going to try a different role and let you do a little talking. Tell us about your program, how you got to this point, and outlook going forward.
Yeah, we've had a very good year. We finished up the regular season last night with a record of 20-9. We've won 15 of our last 18 games to close it out. So we're excited about where we are, and we're excited about hitting the playoffs. The brackets will come out Monday, and we'll see where we're going. We're more than likely going to get a home game in the first round, and then we'll see from there.
Coach, you all had, I looked at your schedule. It looks like you guys loaded the schedule with a lot of upper-tier opponents, a lot of 4 and 5A opponents. It looked like, and if I remember correctly, y'all suffered maybe a string of losses earlier, but did that make you all stronger coming down the stretch?
We did, and we knew with the schedule, that it was going to be a challenge. Being a 1A program, we don't shy away from playing bigger schools, 4A and 5A schools, because we believe that come this time of year, it'll be beneficial and it'll pay off. We had a little 6-game losing streak towards the beginning of the season, where I thought maybe the season could go one way or the other, but, to our players' credit. They rebounded from it and really used it to sort of galvanize and move forward. And like I said, since starting the season 5-6, we finished up 15-3.
I noticed you have a lot of support from the Christian Life Academy community. I saw you all had a senior night last night. You have 3 super seniors in Malik Harrison and Jonathan Stove and R.J. Herzog, and they've obviously helped carry the team a lot. I guess could you tell me about 3 dynamics? One, how those seniors are going to the roles they need to play to get you all into a top 28 situation, get you all to the top 28. 2, the relationship with the Christian Life Academy community with the team, if you could tell me about the stakeholders there. And then 3rd, how do you replace those guys next year?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll start, with the seniors. They have carried us all season. They're our 3 most impactful players on the court. Their leadership is invaluable, and they've really propelled us to this point. We're going to continue to lean on them, obviously, in the playoffs. Not only do they give us the bulk of our scoring, but they're sort of our core on the defensive end as well, with rebounding, with matchups. So we're obviously going to lean on them tremendously, but they've accepted that challenge thus far this year, and I don't see that changing as we move into the playoffs. As far as the CLA community, Christian Life really takes a lot of pride in the basketball program and the tradition that was built there, in the mid-'90s and then carried through in the 2000s with Coach Foster. And it's a great community experience, our home games for the Christian Life community. As you saw last night, we don't have the biggest gym in the world, but we pack it. It's loud, and it's a great home court advantage, and that's a credit to our community who comes out every game and supports us, and it's a credit to our student section. Again, we're not the biggest school in the world, but our student section comes out in full force and really gives us what we need, playing in those tough games. As far as those seniors and next year, we've tried not to think about next year yet until we wrap up this one. But obviously, they're going to be 3 tremendously huge pairs of shoes to fill. But we do have a talented underclassmen group that we're excited about, and hopefully they've absorbed a tremendous amount from those seniors this year, playing underneath them, and that they'll be ready to carry the torch moving forward into next year.
Coach, this is Coach Daniels. I've done some work with Jonathan Stove, and his work ethic is just tremendous, I've found. And I'm wondering, has that gone down to some of those underclassmen that you have in your program?
That's the great thing about the tradition of our program, is that I really believe that, our seniors, as they leave, they impart what it means to be a Christian Life basketball player to the younger guys. And, Jonathan has certainly done that for our sophomores and freshmen in much the same way that guys like Langston Galloway and Frank Bartley did for him, and in the same ways that Josh White and even before him, Michael Clayton did for those guys. So, to talk about Jonathan's work ethic, he's the hardest working player I've ever been around in coaching. He maximizes every bit of talent that he has. He has worked himself into a more perimeter player, and that is purely a credit to his work ethic and the work he did this summer and the work that he does on his own outside of practice. And he's gotten his body to a point where he can be versatile enough to play inside and outside, where, by gaining muscle but also maintaining his quickness and versatility. So, I'd love to say that, I can take credit for that, but I can't. I mean, that's Jonathan Stove. That's the player that he is, and he, but he is. But all that being said,
he's very coachable.
He's so coachable. He's a guy who puts in a tremendous amount of work so that he can, be there for you in whatever role you need him to play. I mean, Jonathan has literally played positions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 this year for us.
Right.
And he'll do whatever he needs to do to help us win.
Right. I love that about that kid. Now, a couple more things, then we're gonna let you go, man. Yeah. Who's the competition? What do you rank? What other Christian Life Crusaders ranked going into the power rankings as of Friday morning?
As of Friday morning, we were sitting at 5. I think we're either going to go in at 5, possibly we'll slip to 6, but hopefully we'll be at 5. A lot of people, I think, tend to maybe forget about 1A. we are up at the top of 1A. It is extremely tough and extremely talented. You've got Arcadia, who's going to be at number 1. Lafayette Christian is an exceptionally good team at number 2. Our own district mate in Madison Prep is probably going to go in at 3. Country Day, this defending state champion will probably be in there at 4. Maybe there's some flipping that could go between Prep and Country Day. And then, hopefully we'll be in there at 5. So, it's going to be a heck of a playoff run for whatever team comes out of this thing and wins it. Because there's, and even below us, when you get back to some of those North Louisiana schools like Plain Dealing and Grambling, it's going to be a challenge. And hopefully, like we said kind of earlier, maybe our tougher schedule that we played, in the non-district season and having to play Madison Prep twice and Southern Lab twice, hopefully that'll prepare us for the challenges that we'll get, very soon.
Last question. What are your thoughts on the power rankings? Your situation is the second situation that I'm aware of where the district champ is ranked lower than a district opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the way it's going to play out. We ended up winning the district, but we'll actually go into the playoffs as a lower seed than Madison Prep. I'm a big fan of the power rankings. I think it rewards schools who are willing to play up in classification in terms of, it rewards schools who are willing to play good teams by giving you points for your opponent's wins. And so, you can go out and create a schedule that will allow you to win 20 games, but if in doing so you had to play a bunch of weaker teams, it's going to hurt you come playoff seeding. Whereas with us, we took 9 losses this year, but I feel like we got some quality wins, and even some of those losses we're still getting points for because those teams have won a bunch of games. And I think in the end, what you end up getting in a bracket is really a good showing of where teams are relative to one another.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Coach, man, and we appreciate you having Louisiana All American Sports out at Christian Life Academy.
Good. Well, thank y'all for having me.
Good luck in the playoffs, Coach.
Okay. Appreciate it.
That was Coach Stephen Dale of the District 6-1A champion Christian Life Academy Crusaders. He touched on something about the community at Christian Life, and I'll tell you, I saw something last night that was that I didn't know about until last night, didn't expect. And it's one of those things, Perry, that I think makes amateur athletics and high school athletics in particular very special. Some of y'all might be familiar with the movie, Disney movie Rudy, that came out in the mid-'90s, where you had a kid who didn't have a lot of athletic ability, but he had the heart of a lion, wanted to play for the team, and finally got a chance in this finale as a senior and made a sack. We saw a parallel of that in real life last night. Christian Life Academy had a student. He's a junior. He's a student manager, not the most athletic fellow in the world. His name is John Creed, and check this out. When he was about to get into the ball game last night, you're going to want to hear this.
They're going to kick it out, Sam Williams. And they're going to kick it to Malik Harrison. Harrison for Jonathan Stowe. Steps up, 1-2 steps from the high block off the glass and good. And Jonathan Stowe will have a chance to convert a 3-point play. And that puts Christian Life up to 17.
So Creed gets into the ball game, last 2 minutes of the regular season finale. Again, you can watch the way he runs. He's not, like I said, this kid's not an athlete, but from what all the students are telling me, he's very popular. He leaves his heart out on the court. He's kind of like every coach's dream. You want to take his heart and put it into some players. Then all of a sudden, something magical happened. Just moments after he gets into the game, from the left wing near the baseline, puts up this Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Well, here we go.
Ball is being inbounded. Sam Williams has the basketball, 80-45. Green with the ball. Floats it up.
district champion, Christian Life Crusaders.
It basically puts up a hook shot, and then about 30 seconds later, he steals the ball and almost dishes off an assist to R.J. Herzog. So I was just, I was whoopsie daisy. I was really, I didn't even know what to say when watching all that. It was one of those things, like I said, that makes high school sports just, it makes it very, very worthwhile, and makes it, it's one of the reasons that we do this. So I was really thrilled to see what we, to watch that unfold right before us on Louisiana All American Sports. So, area code 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927. We're going to take a very brief intermission, and we'll be back in about 90 seconds or less, and come on with some college basketball, some Southern LSU, and some big games in the NCAA today. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports on 96.9 FM, WHYR, Baton Rouge Community Radio. Up. All right. And also we have a caller on the line, and caller, we will get to you in just a moment. And here we go. We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back very shortly. Cool J, I'm bad. Oh, man, when I was 12 years old, that was my theme music. As much as a 12-year-old could actually have theme music, that was my theme music back in the day.
I figured that would be appropriate for our youngster last night who came off the bench and did his thing. Man,
Perry, that was a sight to be seen, and you can see that on Louisiana, or hear the audio rather, on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com.
Also, though, man, we've got some bad basketball players up in North Baton Rouge, man. And you know what? I feel bad because of the injustice to the Southern University Jaguars last week, man. I was so involved in the controversy regarding the data not being submitted to the NCAA that I didn't talk anything about their basketball game last week.
It's easy to get bent out of shape, though, after that. I mean, I was hot, Barry. I mean, go ahead, man. My blood's starting to boil again.
Right, but this week we're going to go game first, and then we'll talk about the rest of it.
For sure.
The Jaguars are back on the hardwood tonight. They are taking on Alabama A&M in Alabama. Alabama A&M has a 7-5 conference record. They are 10-12 overall. The Southern University Jaguars are 11-2, 15-11 overall. They've got a chance to win 20 games this year, and they've played a very difficult schedule with a lot of early season powerhouse teams on the road. And if they can get to 20 games, it would just be an exceptional season for these Jaguars. And last week I talked about them possibly being able to beat the LSU Tigers. I need to preference that game would have to be in North Baton Rouge,
right,
on the Southern University campus, for the Jaguars to have a chance.
Yeah, because there's some fighting Tigers inside of the PMAC.
They are inside the PMAC. But these Jaguars are playing really well. I think that you'll have the NCAA, the administration will meet the NCAA deadlines. They've met the other 9 deadlines that the NCAA has placed on them in this regard. So I have every bit of confidence that they are going to make this deadline as well. The unfortunate thing is that the track team is unable to compete this weekend because of this situation. And the SWAC championship is going on this weekend in Birmingham, and the Southern University women who qualified are not there. The men's team has been ineligible due to academic reasons for some time.
Right.
So they knew that they weren't going. So let's just hope that they clear this up. I think this controversy, though, led to the Jaguars not being focused enough last week to beat the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff,
right,
who upset Southern University and defeated them for the first time in 26 games in the F.G. Clark Activity Center.
That's a long time ago.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, Perry, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but, these kids, again, their responsibility is to come, go to practice, do the best they can, go to class, study, represent the university well. These kids have held up their end of the bargain. The grown-ups have a responsibility to fill in the blankety blanket paperwork. You know, get it done.
Right. You're absolutely right. And again, to their credit, they've met every other deadline that the NCAA has placed on them. They've met this initial deadline. It's just that what they did not give the NCAA exactly what they were looking for.
Right.
So now it's a matter of going back to the drawing board, getting it, and giving it back. So the administration is working overtime up at Southern. They have something to play for. Hopefully the guys can stay focused.
Right.
They can win these 20 games, win the SWAC tournament, and really have a decision there.
Right.
You know, because they can't play in the SWAC tournament if they're not eligible for postseason.
Right.
Because the conference can't afford to give away that money.
Absolutely not, and they shouldn't. And everyone has to look out for their own best interests.
Right.
You know, and so again, come on, they're on the bluff. Let's get it done. Let's take care of our Jags.
And their conference tournament, Eric, happens to be the same weekend of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association Top 28 tournament.
Wow.
So, we've credentialed, we've applied for credentials to both. The LHSAA credentials process has been approved, as I mentioned to you yesterday. Still waiting to hear back from the SWAC. This time. So I'm not sure if we're going to bring you that coverage or not, but we're working on it.
So we're going to give you some good postseason amateur coverage one way or the other in mid-March.
Yes.
Are we ready to go to the other side of town?
We are ready to move over to the other side of town.
Bum, bum, bum. So our LSU Fighting Tigers. Let's talk about. There's always good news and there's bad news. As I find myself saying over and over and over again. The bad news is LSU found a way to lose at Arkansas. They were outscored. They were. It's really strange the home court advantage in the SEC, because Arkansas, it's almost the extreme with them. They look like they can't make a layup when they're not playing at home, but yet when they're playing in Little Rock, they're scoring 80, 90 points easy. And they made LSU is a team that crashes the boards well. Good team, getting a lot of presence in the paint.
Crashes the boards well.
LSU was 10th in the country in rebounding going into last week's game. They didn't do it.
Let's see how well they crashed the boards today.
Oh, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. You're a step ahead of me. I got something for you with the big blue in your blood, because I know your heart is telling you yes. But I mean, your mind will be telling you yes today too. But anyway, you were right about that last week. Anyway, but I digress. But yet, they typically crash the boards well. They have a good post presence in the paint. Johnny O'Brien is usually frustrating for anybody. He completely took Arkansas out almost single-handedly when they played in the PMAC earlier. But yet, it just wasn't happening. LSU looked all out of sorts, and Arkansas started running away from the games. LSU took very poor shots down the stretch. The shot selection, I think, would have even a middle school coach scratching his head. And they lost to one of the worst teams in the SEC in spite of being on the road. Then they played Mississippi State at the PMAC earlier this week. And they got off to a 14-0 start. That was a good thing. Mississippi State is possibly the worst team in the Southeastern Conference, notwithstanding the actual records. They jumped out early. They pounded Mississippi State early. Jarrell Martin of Madison Prep dropped 20 points on them, 8 of 11 from the field.
He looked really, really good.
He looked like Jarrell Martin, as I used to say when he'd score for Madison Prep on Louisiana All American Sports.com.
Eric, he caught a putback off of an inbound play and had a monster dunk. I mean, man, it was like, wow. And they've inserted him back into the starting lineup.
Right, which is good. And it's critical for him and his confidence and his development. And he's earned it. He really has earned it. He has such a good presence when he's in the air. It's so hard to describe, especially for a big guy.
Man.
Jordan Mickey had 19 points, 2 blocks. Siobhan Coleman, 18 points, 4 steals. So that's the good news. They jumped out early. But the thing is, Mississippi State kept closing the gap and closing the gap. They closed it to within 10, then LSU went on a run.
So there's some other bad news other than today they have to play in Lexington, Kentucky.
There is. The bad news is they had their foot on the throat of the worst team in the SEC and couldn't stop them. So, Coach Johnny Jones said, just right. They got off to a really good start. They needed a good start, but they they did not close out the game. You know, as he said, we did not close out the game the way I would like. I think we did a great job of containing, allowing one individual to finish with 33, finishing at the rim to get to the free throw line. We didn't do a great job of containing, you know, and so that's something LSU has to work on. So now they go to Kentucky today to probably, you know, the second best team in the SEC, I would say, after Florida, you know, at Rupp Arena. Oh, man, it's going to get real today, and I'll tell you right now, I'm picking Kentucky in that game this afternoon. We can,
man.
you know, and you know, Perry, you went against your heart last week too, and we're correct on that with the Florida game last week. I'm going to just go out on a limb. I usually don't speak for anybody, but I'm going to assume you're taking the Wildcats this afternoon.
Of course.
That's a no-brainer. Real quick note before we move on to other college basketball action. LSU football, real quick. Looks like Stephen Rivers, who is a who's a senior, believe he'll be leaving the program. He's going to transfer. He's the brother of NFL Pro Bowl quarterback Phillip Rivers of the San Diego Chargers. He just never panned out. He has a lot of traits like his brother. Unfortunately, one of them is a slow looping release, or an unconventional release. Phillip Rivers is quick. Stephen Rivers not so quick, and he's not a very mobile guy. That's really why he never got any action. So disappointing to see that he didn't pan out. I do wish him the best of luck and hope that he catches on somewhere. So now we have some other action though in the world of college basketball. Let's get it started, baby. Okay, so while we're trying to get it started, we're not... Oh, here we go. My bad. There we go. We have some big-time action in the world of college basketball today. We have a huge game in the ACC. The Syracuse Orange, who were formerly undefeated, WHYR, are going to take on the Duke Blue Devils. They're going to take them on at Duke. Duke was narrowly nipped in overtime the first go-round. Duke sent the game into overtime. Syracuse managed to muscle it out in one of the most exciting games, I think the most exciting game of the season, quite frankly. So Syracuse was finally beaten earlier this week. They lost to, of all teams, Boston College, who is 3-10 in ACC play. Boston College beat Syracuse 62-59 in overtime. Syracuse had a lot of close calls throughout the year, and I think, Perry, they might have been looking ahead to play the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah, that's quite possible. You know, it's just so difficult to go through an entire basketball season undefeated. And I think you'll see Wichita State, you know, meet an upset as well somewhere along the line against an inferior team, just like Syracuse lost to an inferior team in Boston College, even though Boston College was playing inspired basketball. They were.
Oh, you got to get up for that game. And I know we have somebody waiting on the line.
Dr. Johnson with our Black History Month.
Real quick, I'm taking Duke in this game. Who do you like?
Wow, you know what? Earlier in the week, I picked that this would be the sentinel moment for Syracuse, and Duke would pull off the upset here. However, Duke losing to North Carolina.
Right. Now they're hot.
I understand North Carolina's hot, but I do think that I don't think Duke rebounds here against Syracuse. I think Syracuse gets back into their winning ways in North Carolina against Duke.
So Perry has number 1 Syracuse. I'm taking number 5 Duke.
Yeah, they can't still be number 1 after that loss.
Well, for now. But, Monday it's going to come out. I'm sure they're going to drop.
Yeah. And I'm surprised that Florida has jumped Wichita State.
Yeah.
And it's like they're giving Wichita State no respect. They went to the Final Four last year.
Right.
They play fantastic defense. But can we get back into college basketball once Professor Johnson does his thing?
Absolutely. Professor Johnson, good morning. You're on the air with Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels. How are you this morning?
Good morning, gentlemen. Peace and wisdom. And I want to just add in, also, I concur with the brother, Go Big Orange. I'm a Syracuse fan. I want to interject that little small tidbit. I know that's not history related, but Syracuse is the real deal.
Historians have teams too, so. All right.
Good morning. Today's Black History Fact is Don Cheney. And I would hope that the listening audience does not render me being biased, because this gentleman is also a product of the Big Blue Machine, McKinley Senior High School, and is a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Don Cheney was an all-star player at the University of Houston. He played alongside Elvin Hayes and played in the most famous game of the century, in which the University of Houston went on to defeat, at that time, the undefeated dynasty of the great Coach Wooden at UCLA. And Don Cheney was the point guard of this team. He was drafted into the NBA and won a championship in his rookie year with the Boston Celtics after also playing for the ABA. Some of Don's more noteworthy accomplishments on the coaching side was that he coached for the Los Angeles Clippers, he coached for the Houston Rockets, the Detroit Pistons, as well as the New York Knicks, and he was the 1991 Coach of the Year after leading the Houston Rockets to a 50-32 record. Donald Duck Cheney is our sports figure for the day.
Awesome, awesome. Hail, hail, McKinley High.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And as I said, that just speaks volumes to the wealth of talent and tradition that McKinley has.
Sure does.
I hope the audience doesn't seem it being biased at all. Perhaps one day I will have to do a piece on the great quarterback, Perry Daniels.
Hey, you know what? It ain't boasting if you can back it up, baby. Yeah, we'll definitely do a piece on Perry Daniels, quarterback, McKinley, class of 1985.
All right, Professor Johnson, have a good one.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I really enjoy his pieces. I guess we'll have at least one. Well, no, is this the last one of the month? Because this is.
No, man, we're going to bring Doc back at least once a month, man. You know, there's no need for us just to wait to February.
Sure.
To do this.
No, I really enjoyed it. I'll enjoy that a lot. Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, or Professor Johnson, Professor Johnson,
yeah.
for calling in and giving a little flavor to the audience, a little history lesson. I love sports history, and really one of the best parts about sports and sports fans is they love their sports history.
But, you know, a lot of folks don't realize that not only did Don Cheney come from the Baton Rouge area, but also the great Eddie Robinson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of folks don't know that.
Area, and a McKinley High graduate.
So now getting back to the present day and college basketball. See, let's try that again. Alrighty. So, we also have, in the world of college basketball, Duke Syracuse. That's good. We have some nice games today. We also have in the American Athletic Conference, the AAC, we have the number 11 Louisville Cardinals traveling to play the number 7 Cincinnati Bearcats. The Cardinals' only loss in the last month and a half was at the hands of the Bearcats in Louisville, a very close game. These are two very different teams. Both teams, kick a lot of butt on defense. Cincinnati just smothers their opponents. They lock out the perimeter. They beat you down in the post. Justin Jackson is kind of an everyman who can just grab rebounds, put up points in the paint for Cincinnati. Louisville's a little different. They have good ball handling, and they're very aggressive. They crash the boards hard, and it works for both teams. Louisville, though, is still at a little bit of a disadvantage ever since dismissing Shane Bohannon, who was a pivotal. He only averaged 8 points a game, but he was a pivotal part defensively for that Louisville team last year, winning the championship. He was dismissed for repeated marijuana issues. I think that's going to hurt when you play the stronger teams in your conference, like Cincinnati. I think this is ultimately going to come down to a matchup of the two senior guards, Perry. Russ Smith, who's averaging 18 points a game, 5 assists per game, and Sean Kilpatrick, who's dropping 20 a game for Cincinnati. They're both playing good basketball right now. They're both riding hot streaks right now, and neither one is injured, not even a little one. So because of that, I'm going to give the slightest nod to the home team. I think the winner of that guard matchup wins this game, and I think since Kilpatrick is at home, it gives them the slightest edge. But this game can go either way. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bearcats this afternoon, though.
Right. The way that Louisville plays, their guards are extremely important in what they do. And Russ Smith has not quite stepped up to match last year's guards.
Right.
Sergio or
Sergio Garcia.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the Louisville team has underperformed a little. I like the Cincinnati team. I've watched them play this year. I like what they do, although, again, I've got to go with coaches trump talent, and I've got to go with Rick Pitino and the Louisville Cardinals here, even though they're on the road and they lost a big game to these guys in Louisville.
Yeah, you know, my heart's telling me, I love Coach Pitino. He's one of my favorites. My heart's telling me Louisville. My mind is ever so slightly telling me Cincinnati. But, Perry, that can go either way.
It can go either way. I'd also like to give big props to St. Louis U, who's ranked number 10th in the country right now, 23-2. They've got a real tough schedule coming up in early March, where they're playing 3 ranked opponents that will really determine what this team is about. March the 1st, they play VCU, who's ranked 10th. March the 5th, they play the 25th ranked Dayton Flyers. And then on March the 9th, they play UMass, who's ranked number 21.
Very good team.
So by the time of mid-March, we'll really know what this St. Louis U team is really about. Are they contenders or are they pretenders? But right now, big props to the 10th ranked St. Louis University Billikens.
I'm going down, baby. Yo, the street in the rain. Come on.
Oh, we've got the fixer coming up shortly.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm glad I didn't bring that music out. You know, it's going to get a lot of play today, but I had to get a little shout to the Lou.
Yeah.
And then we have another good matchup on paper in what, in my opinion, Perry, is the most schizophrenic conference in college basketball, and that's the Crazy 10, or the Big 10, which is already schizophrenic because there are 12 teams in the Big 10. Every team in the Big 10, Perry, has bipolar disorder. Michigan State, ranked number 2, they dropped to 9. Michigan, up and down. Wisconsin, up and down. Ohio State was number 3 at once. They dropped out of the top 25. The Hawkeyes were hot, then they got cold. Today we have the Wisconsin Badgers, number 16, going up to play the Iowa Hawkeyes. You know, this is like, it's almost like throwing something against the wall and seeing what sticks. I really can't predict what we're going to have with this wacky, crazy Big Ten. This is what we have on paper, and this is almost like a coin toss. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick the Iowa Hawkeyes in this game, but this is what we have on paper. You know, Frank Kaminsky is this lengthy, long forward for Wisconsin, and he is just a nightmare. 13 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. He's 7 feet tall. He's a lot like Dirk Nowitzki. He's 7 feet tall, but he can play offensively. He frustrates teams. And then you have Sam Decker, who's really, when he's up, Wisconsin's up. When they're down, and you don't know which Sam Decker's going to show up. He's completely unpredictable. On the other hand, you have Roy Devin Marble of Iowa, and when he finds his zone and gets his points, Iowa tends to win. Roy Marble is not quite as volatile as those other players I mentioned, but both these teams, you just don't know who's going to show up. I do think Iowa's slightly more stable, and that's a very relative term. They're also playing in Iowa, so I'm taking the Hawkeyes in that game this afternoon.
This conference is just overrated in my opinion. The highest ranking team in the conference is Michigan State, ranked at 13.
Right.
And, I just think there's too much emphasis placed on Big 12 basketball, Big 10 basketball.
Right. With 12 teams.
With 12 teams. I just think they're an overrated conference. I thought you were going to talk about the Virginia game, man, because you've got the University of Virginia taking on, who are they? Notre Dame. At 21 today.
Yeah.
And that's coming up. That's coming on like at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm
going to go Notre Dame. They've been a little more consistent, and it's kind of relative there, too, because they've had their ups and downs. They did beat Duke earlier this year. Right. So, anyway, I believe that might be one of our special guests. Is that the fixer?
I lost whoever it was.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, put it on call.
Oh.
Was that the fixer?
Take him off. I couldn't determine who.
Sorry about that.
WHYR.
Little technical issue there. Uh-oh. I apologize. Please call right back. That's my fault with having itchy fingers. But we're going to have... Actually, let's just go ahead and bring you to the I Told You So segment while we wait for our guest to call back. I'm pretty sure that was our buddy the Fixer, as we've done a lot of telling you what's going to happen, and now you'll have an opportunity to tell us I Told You So, and we'll tell you I Told You So. And we got a little something for Coach Daniels in the I Told You So section. You're going to love this.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
LSU, really looks good on paper statistically against a team in Arkansas that looks bad on the floor. And even though they're going at Bud Walton Arena, I expect, Perry, LSU to take the Arkansas Razorbacks down in their own building today. I think that's a road win that LSU can manage.
I do think LSU will pull out a victory in Arkansas because of that Arkansas team is so bad.
Right. Saturday game. But MSU is 3-8. That game is they're 3-8 in the Southeastern Conference. That game is in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. That is on February the 19th. I cannot remember which day of the week that is. That's a Thursday. So those are, I think they beat Mississippi State. They have the na clip program there. But they are so physical down low, and Julius Randle is really feeling his rhythm. 16 points a game, 10 rebounds per game, and I think that Kentucky is going to win at home today against the Gators.
I'm going to go with I can't believe I'm about to do this.
Oh, no, you're not picking. I thought the Big Blue was in your blood. You told me that.
It is. Wow, I got to think about this one, man, because my heart is telling me go with that blue.
Right.
But my mind is telling me that Billy the Kid's going to have his kids ready to play.
Billy.
My mind's telling me no. But my body's telling me yes, baby.
They don't have the big names like they had in the past, but they are smothering on defense, and they get it done and putting up enough points to win.
And because of that, I am going to go ahead and go with Florida.
Oh, I'm going to take Memphis, even though they're going on the road to the Connecticut Huskies.
So for Memphis to pull that out, they've kind of converted me. You're going to hear in the I Told You So that I was not a believer in Memphis last week.
I went easy on you.
But I am going to say that this week I think they continue their momentum and they do pull out the victory against Utah.
It was priceless, folks. If you watch ESPN Sports Center, you hear it. So Perry had his mind was telling him no, or his heart was telling him no, and his mind said yes. Anyway, a little shout out to R. Kelly there. So real quick, we have the fix on the line, but we want to remind you that in about 12 minutes we have Noel Jackson, Music Satisfaction, coming up on 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio. But now let's move on to our regular friend of the show, The Fixer.
I'm going down, baby. Your street in the rain. Come on. Ready to let it go.
What up, G?
Hey, what's going on, Perry James?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are things in the great Las Vegas?
Oh, man, things are perking up. We get around the corner from March Madness, so, everybody's just relaxed.
All right. I know that's always an exciting time of the year. Talk to us about the odds, man. Talk to us about, who's going to win the NBA championship. Tell us, everything that you can tell us.
All right. I tell you what, since baseball season is right around the corner from the first preseason games, we'll start out with MLB baseball.
Okay, who's going to win the World Series?
Well, odds makers have the Dodgers in the lead at 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit 7-1. Washington 10-1, and then following with the Red Sox and Cardinals at 12-1.
Interesting. It makes sense too, based on past trends.
Right. Okay. So wow, that's interesting that they're predicting the Nationals to bounce back, and the Dodgers, who were really close last year.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for those St. Louis Cardinals, they may have made it last year. So okay, we're good there. I'm surprised that the Pittsburgh Pirates aren't anywhere in there, though.
Yeah, me too. Especially, they did lose A.J. Burnett. That probably
Right.
hurts, and they're not a strong batting team. I'm guessing. I mean,
Right.
the Fixer could probably tell better than I could.
But no, let's move on, Fixer.
All right, let's go on. I'll tell you what, we'll go to NBA. The NBA, they got the Heat in the lead, of course, at 12-5. Indiana at 11-4. OKC at 15-4. And for your local Louisianians, at 300-1.
What is it? What is it to 1?
300-1 for your bet.
Go put $1,000 on that.
Woo! Set for life.
Wow.
Yeah, and
NCAA basketball, which is right around the corner. This is going to be kind of surprising to y'all, but maybe not. They got Florida to win the championship at 11-2.
Doesn't surprise anyone in this studio.
Yeah.
Then Kansas at 8-1. Syracuse at 8-1.
Right.
LSU 150-1.
Wait, is that the odds to make the tournament or win the tournament?
And Perry, you were talking about St. Louis U. At the beginning of the year in January, they were 75-1. Now they're down to 40-1. So
Wow.
Big improvement.
Wow. The Billikens are playing really good ball, G.
Yeah, somebody's taking notice when they move up 35 points.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's trying to save some money.
Right. Right. Now, you know, the Florida odds don't surprise us.
No.
However, I am surprised that Syracuse and Kansas share the same odds.
Right.
Well, they could move up or down here and there, but, you know, Syracuse, once you lose, things change.
Right.
Was that so, Coach? Mr. Fixer, did Syracuse's odds get longer after the Boston College loss?
Yeah.
Okay.
They moved up with them after the Boston College loss.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, hey, man, we appreciate you. Anything else?
Oh, no, that's pretty good. I think that I am on my way to the gambling hall, and I think I'm going to put in on this 12-1 ticket for my St. Louis Cardinals right now.
Yes, indeed.
That's a pretty solid bet there, G. All right, man, you know the routine. Stay off the grid.
Stay out of jail.
I'll holla.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
That was The Fixer.
I'm going down, baby. Yo, street in the rain. Come on. Baby, ready to let it go.
Oh, always love hearing from The Fixer. So, wow, that is some wild, weird stuff. That's good to know.
150-1, the Tigers winning it all.
I think, and that's probably alongside with 141-1 odds of them just making the big dance in the first place.
Throwing your money away.
Yes, indeedy. You never know. Put $1 up there. What could go wrong? So, you're still talking about basketball. You know, just real quick, talking about the NBA. We have a couple of games coming up. We haven't talked a whole lot about the NBA this year, but it's really starting to ramp up. In the tomorrow, there are 3 nationally televised games, 2 on ABC and 1 on ESPN. We have coming up. We have on tomorrow, the Los Angeles Clippers travel to OKC to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Blake Griffin has been evolving. He's been developing some good shots. He's become more than just a dunker. And, of course, Chris Paul, point guard Chris Paul's back in the lineup. Griffin averaging 25 points and 10 rebounds a game. Chris Paul, 19 points, 11 assists per game. But the Thunder have just been on fire. Kevin Durant is making a run at MVP. He's averaging 31 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists and 8 rebounds per game. In spite of that beatdown they suffered at the hands of LeBron and the Miami Heat, I do think the Thunder, on their home court, and as hot as they are going to have a lot more in the tank than the Los Angeles Clippers in that game. Also, the Chicago Bulls play the Miami Heat. You might ask, why am I talking about the Bulls? Look, the Bulls are second in the Central Division in spite of not having Derrick Rose now for the second straight year. Coach Tom Thibodeau deserves just a solid gold medal for his efforts. I do think, though, that the Heat are on fire. LeBron James seems to have kicked it from a 5th gear into a 6th gear, if that makes any sense. And he looks like he's not only going to help Miami, he's trying to vault Miami past the Pacers in the Eastern Conference. He's trying to rip the 2014 MVP award away from Kevin Durant, who seems to be the front runner right now. LeBron has 6 consecutive games in which he scored 30 or more points, and the Heat have won 10 out of their last 12. And also, coming down south, the Houston Rockets travel to play the Phoenix Suns. The Rockets are quietly sitting right there in 3rd place, and they are within striking distance of Oklahoma City for 1st place in the West. Phoenix looked like they had one of the worst rosters in basketball, but they're right now, they're second in the Pacific Division. They look a complete turnaround really for that team. Goran Dragic is having a career year averaging 20 a game. Eric Bledsoe, while he's hurt, he got off to a fast start last month, though he's out for a little while. I do think that the Rockets, though, with Dwight Howard and James Harden playing at the absolute top of their games, even though they're playing out in the desert, I think they'll be too much for Phoenix. I like the Houston Rockets in that game. And also an NBA note, Kobe Bryant is expected to miss at least 3 more weeks. He broke his lateral tibial plateau in his knee in December. The Lakers have the next to last record in the Western Conference at 19-36. I'll tell you what, Perry, when I saw the All-Star game, it looked like they were saying almost, when they gave that ovation to Kobe, it looked almost like a goodbye of sorts, like a thanks for the memories kind of clap.
It might be, man. I'd like to say big props to Marcus Thornton, who was traded from the Sacramento Kings to the Brooklyn Nets.
That's going to be really good for him, Perry.
Former Terre Haute Trojan Marcus Thornton, still in the NBA, still playing basketball. Great job. Now going to that veteran locker room over in Brooklyn.
Right.
Learn something from there, young man. You may be able to be able to collect NBA payroll checks for another 10 years. Now, also, though, the Northwestern University head football coach Pat Fitzgerald appeared before the National Labor Relations Board in Chicago Thursday. And Fitzgerald's testimony came during a hearing conducted by the National Labor Relations Board to determine whether or not Northwestern football players are in fact school employees who have the right to form a union. The Northwestern representatives have maintained in their arguments to the board that the university considers football players to be students, not salaried workers. Very, very important case regarding college athleticism and amateur athleticism in our country as a whole. Keep an eye on what's going on in Chicago, because this could determine the future of amateur athletics in the United States.
And in Chicago, the organized labor will be licking its chops. And a couple of NFL notes real quick. What is up with our National Football League players? Breaking the law. Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens, the Pro Bowl running back, was arrested after knocking out his fiancée. Perry, what is up? You got Darren Sharper, Ray Rice. I'm starting to really take very seriously these claims of head injuries and the way it makes people behave. I mean, it's just crazy. You don't hear about this in the NBA or Major League Baseball like talking about it.
Well, the NBA has its own set of problems. But, there could be something to the continuous blows to the head that are associated with football. These guys are doing some just drastically outrageous things, and part of it, could be the continuous blows to the head, but part of it could just be this prima donna culture that we place upon our football players. That they feel like they're above the law.
And you got to be wired a certain way, I guess, to play pro football. And real quick, before we sign off and turn it over to Noel Jackson, the NFL is planning on penalizing the use of the N-word, penalizing players, finding players that use it during games. I think an interesting twist on this is while we had the Riley Cooper scandal or embarrassment, and we had the flap with Richie Incognito, I think it's going to affect probably more black players than white players. If you've ever played football or listened closely or gotten close to the game or coached, you know what time it is with that.
Is there any penalty for referees who say the word? ADT, JNS, love you.
And like we always say, have a good afternoon.